Yeah, so you're talking about the black identity crisis. Now, I don't know whether it's because black America have been at the bottom of the social economic ladder for such a long time that they've, the negativity, which is like kind of manifests as a result of that, has become culturalized to the point where they don't see anything else. But it's just, if I separate my emotions from the equation here, it just sounds like they're moaning all the time. Now, again, I'm not saying that to kind of have a stab, but there's nothing seems to come of what they do other than the end result being they're either moaning or they're asking somebody to listen to them. But as you said earlier, it's kind of the idea of like you're asking a snake not to be a reptile. And like it's just not going to get you anywhere, like ever. So I don't quite understand why they continually fall for it. But it kind of reinforces the idea to me of why so many different sects within the umbrella of the black community choose to remain tribal. Like, like I'm half Zimbabwean and half Grenadian. So I feel like it kind of gives me a bit more of a balanced view without having a bias. And both sides will tell me why they choose not to kind of intermingle with each other. So I'm kind of an anomaly. Most Africans will say, I'm generalizing there, they won't, or at least I won't say they won't, but they'll be weary of, let's say, the West Indian black culture side because of just their history and how they don't seem to have been able to pull themselves out of, I would say, a self-inflicted purgatory at this point, because there just aren't as many barriers there for them that was there in the beginning. They just kind of feel that by, sorry.
Do you think a lot of black people create barriers?
Absolutely, absolutely. I absolutely think they create barriers because it's much more easy to push out the negative emotion rather than kind of have a self-reflection moment and go, what is it that I'm necessarily doing wrong myself? It's much easier to have these emotional bursts than kind of say, maybe I'm causing a problem here. Maybe the reason this hasn't been going right for me for so long is because there's something which I'm doing. But it just seems like all of the different cultural aspects which seem to surround us, all of our role models and what actually happens to be in our communities just kind of reinforce this idea that we're supposed to be angry. It's kind of like if I walk down the high street and I hear young black youth talking with like American twang and whatnot, I can say half to myself, maybe it's the music and stuff, but at the same time, that's reshaping their perception of their individual culture, like they're not being exposed to enough elements of creativity that would kind of help them break free of that kind of, that negative tunnel vision. So it just becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy and they end up creating problems for themselves, because, an environment change could change a lot of that, but they just don't see it. They don't see it.
Do you think that black people in America think that they've monopolized the black experience?
Yes, 100%. Some of it, I might not say, isn't 100% their fault. It's kind of like this. They have like a manufactured brand of what it is to be black. Like the whole black exploitation thing and whatnot. Like a lot of that is fake. Like a lot of it had never had anything to do with black people. It was kind of like, this is a character type that we're going to give you.
Like it's
and then it was just forced for so long. Like people have grown up within whatever their time was, seen this, viewed it as normal, and then that character type has just become part of the culture. Oh, this is how black people are supposed to be. And through that, through the constant repetition of their image constantly being shown as, the de facto, the de facto mark of what it is to be black. Yeah, they just think like they're it. And it's like, our voice matters the most and whatnot. Like, I don't know, I've had this argument so many times with people. Like, it's just, if someone comes to me and they start talking about Rosa Parks or whatnot, I'm like, I hear where you're coming from, but it's just these things are not from, like, say, the black British experience or the black Lagos experience or the black, those things, people, and I think this is where the identity crisis starts to spawn. Like, black America, to me, just seems to attach itself to whatever it's given by whoever happens to be in, the, I don't know, the de facto speaking point at the time. they've just got no grounding, like, at all. I don't know. I don't know how else to kind of say it without seeming like I'm having a stab. So if there's any Americans here, like, I'm not, I don't mean any offense, but I just don't know how else to say it. And it's reinforced to me more when I talk to people, family on the, like I said, the African side of my heritage. They just, in pretty much simple terms, will just say, we don't want anything to do with that. Because it's just it's a constant reoccurring pattern. Like, if I look at what's happening with, like, the whole Black Lives Matter thing and whatnot, without even taking time to go and look at the people, I know the specific black people that are going to be in the crowd. You know, the black people that I don't see Africans there. I don't see Africans as a majority involved in any of these movements. I don't, because
why do you think that is?
Because with their culture, what's been reinforced with them is that if you want something to happen, you just need to close your mouth and get on with doing, rather than talking, rather than moaning, rather than making demands. And I mean, why would you make demands to the people that oppressed you in the first place? Why would you expect them to do anything for you? Africans don't do that. Like, across the board, like, they just don't do that. It's not in their mentality. I'm in Birmingham, by the way, and I wanted to go and congratulate a friend of mine the other day. So he just got elected for the Commonwealth Games, like, next year. Now, he's a young lad. Like, he's got Nigerian heritage, Russian and Nigerian heritage, actually. Remember the name Delicious Ori. Remember, that's the new Anthony Joshua. But anyway, the same thing when you talk to him, like, it's a strong Nigerian mentality that comes across with him. Right. There's no complaining. Like, there's no complaining. Oh, they did this to me. Oh, this hurt. Oh, this isn't right. Oh, this is injustice. No. It's just solution focused. Always solution focused. Right. And when you think like that, you don't have time to moan. You don't have time to try and attach yourself to the next mob who's, wants to, cry about the next kind of social justice trend. With Black Americans, and unfortunately, I see a lot of West Indian culture falling into it too. It's the total opposite, It's the total opposite. Like, there's not it's like there isn't a it's like leather and PCU leather, One of them doesn't have any substance. It just looks the part. Right. Like, that's the difference. I'm probably rambling a bit there, so I'll just stop what I'm saying.
No problem.
But,
Listen, I'm gonna